Let's bring in Mark Dubowitz. He's CEO of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Mark, welcome. Good to see you. So this was, I think, a big gamble by the president on Syria's new president. Was it a gamble worth taking?
Well, we'll see. I mean, it was certainly a surprise for many people. I don't think the decision was coordinated with the Treasury Department or the State Department, who are going to be responsible for lifting these sanctions. I think a number of people are concerned that we're giving the sanctions up front, or the sanctions relief up front, without actually getting the commitments from the Syrian leader. I think, on the other hand, it could be a gamble worth taking. I mean, if he can take this new leader, which we have to remember was an Islamist and part of ISIS, al-Qaeda, a real jihadist, and turn him into a moderate pragmatist and make peace with Israel, that would be a pretty incredible conclusion.
Well, what do we want? I mean, what would you want from al-Sharaa?
Well, I'd want him to join the Abraham Accords.
Okay.
I'd want him to reach, obviously, a full peace agreement with Israel. I'd want him to stop having his goons slaughter minorities, the Druze, the Alawites, the Kurds in Syria, and actually start to ensure that that country becomes stable and peaceful and safe for all its citizens. And clearly keep Turkish influence, keep Erdogan's influence out of Syria. I think that would be actually a good move if it could be U.S., Saudi, and the moderate Arab states that have influence over a new Syria.
Yeah, it could be interesting. Is Israel cautiously optimistic about it, or are they worried?
I think the Israelis don't know how to spell the word optimistic. They live in the Middle East, and
right,
not in the Midwest. And I think the Israelis, by design and inclination, have to be always very cautious and very pessimistic, especially knowing that the Syrian leader's history is one of vehement anti-Israel sentiment, and also, obviously, he was a terrorist. I mean, he was especially designated global terrorist by the United States. This is not some moderate in a suit that just rolled into Damascus.
The other surprise, I guess, at least maybe not quite as big, but it is something of a surprise, is the turn in the president's rhetoric on the possibility of a deal with Iran, saying that there are negotiations that have really moved forward, and Steve Witkoff, his envoy, has been saying the same thing. How do you read those tea leaves? Are we closer to a deal that could actually dismantle the nuclear program?
Well, Congress has certainly spoken. I mean, the Republican Party, 52 U.S. senators, 177 House Republicans have said to the president that any deal must fully dismantle Iran's nuclear program and give the Iranians no enrichment, right? The key capability they need to develop nuclear weapons. So If the Iranians have accepted that, and I'm skeptical, then we're close to a deal. If, on the other hand, the United States is about to compromise, as the United States always compromises when faced with Iranian red lines, then I fear we may be heading to a warmed-over version of the 2015 deal that Barack Obama did and that President Trump wisely withdrew from in 2018.
How do you view the signs, the tea leaves out of Iran on this? Because they seem to have insisted that we really do want enrichment. And one of the things that I'm hearing as a possible compromise is this idea of something of a consortium within the Middle East that could enrich uranium. And then that other countries, Iran included, maybe the Saudis and others, could then import that. Is that something that you think could pass muster from your point of view on whether or not it's credible?
Yeah, I think it's credible if it's not on Iranian soil and that the United States has strict oversight over that. If it's on Iranian soil and we're going to depend on the Saudis and Emiratis to police the Iranians, given Iranian nuclear mendacity over decades, I wouldn't be very confident that that's going to work out. I mean, the Iranians are insisting on having this enrichment. Why? Not for civilian energy, because they have spent hundreds of billions of dollars. They've been under powerful sanctions, and they've only used enrichment to produce 2% of their electricity. Right? The Emiratis have spent $25 billion, and they've produced 25% of their electricity. So Iran is not asking for enrichment for civilian nuclear use. They're asking for it because they want to produce nuclear weapons, and it's the key fissile material that they need.
Mark, looking at the trip overall, the president's speech in Saudi Arabia, and is there a larger theme here about the Trump foreign policy that you can pull out and identify?
I think the larger theme is peace, prosperity, stability, the avoidance of war, and a belief that if you flood the region with cash, you'll turn the region's leaders into moderates. And I think he's touting the Saudis and Emiratis and Bahrainis as good examples of that. The only problem is, if you flood hundreds of billions of dollars into the Islamic Republic, are you going to turn the Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei's Revolutionary Guards and the Islamist revolutionaries into moderates? Similarly, you're going to turn the Syrian leader, a former jihadist, into a moderate by lifting sanctions and flooding them with cash. I think President Trump firmly believes that cash will moderate, and I think time will tell whether that's indeed the case.
All right, Mark Dubowitz, thanks again, as usual, for those insights.